These are commodity market comments for Thursday, May 21st. Another market session led by the wheat. That's been the trend the last few days. All the markets are most influenced by the weather than any other factor at the moment. Um, Led by the wheat today, July wheat up 12 3/4. Corn was up 5. Soybeans continues to trade bearishly in response to weather. It was down 2 3/4. The main factor in the markets is nearby weather. The 7-day forecast is very, very wet for the southern plains. Today's run has a band of 5-inch plus rains from Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, Missouri into the southern half of Iowa. Starts to diminish when you get to Iowa, but some heavy rainfall. And the 8 to 14 day that came out today is wet for almost the entire contiguous United States. Um, that has several ramifications for the grain markets. It has the market believing that wheat quality in particular and possibly also yields are diminishing in especially Texas and Oklahoma. There's some chatter that the yields have been helped by wet weather um, in Kansas and Nebraska. May be true up until now, but with these forecasts for more heavy rains, I think you're going to start to see diminishing quality and yields in the northern sections of the southern plains as well. Um, Row crops, the weather is affecting the row crops in a couple of ways. The market believes that corn yield potential in the Corn Belt has remained high, um, and that's probably right. If you get into the 3I states, they've had a more of a balanced weather than we've had here in the Southern Plains. So it gives the ideas that corn yield potential is good, but it is also on the same by the same token, we're 85% planted through Sunday. If you believe that number, that leaves a significant amount, well over 10 million acres of corn yet to plant. We're probably more further along than that, truth be told, but the problem is with this wet weather forecast, the next 2 weeks of wet weather puts us over the preventative planting dates. It's May 31st in some places, June 5th in others. Um, it's not out of the realm of possibility. We could have 2 or 3 million acres go preventative planting. It's a possibility. They have options. They could switch to soybeans. They could take a late planting um, of corn with diminished coverage. But keep in mind with the February rates that were locked in much higher than the market now, preventative planting option would at least be something the farmers would look at on some corn acres. Of course, corn acres on corn acres are key, whereas on soybeans yields are the key to the soybean market. Um, the market is very bearish on soybeans. This weather um, has the market believing rightfully that we're capping corn acres here with the economics and the weather, and that means um, larger bean acres down the road. Um, we're already projecting record bean acres from the USDA, and it's likely to just grow. The next 2 weeks of wet weather for the southwestern part of the Corn Belt would give us some worry if we have to plant a significant amount of soybeans in Kansas, Missouri, southern Iowa, eastern Nebraska the last half of June. But we do have time, unlike corn where we're bumping up against the preventative planting dates now. There is time for weather to straighten out and to facilitate planting later on. So the market's not worried about that on beans just yet. That's why we see beans acting the weakest of the three commodities right now. Export sales came out today. Very good for corn, 32 million bushels. So despite the talk of how good corn yields are, corn production in South America, we're still export demand for corn and for domestic demand as well is quite good. Um, Tomorrow is Friday, and ahead of this 3-day weekend, unless there's a significant change in the weather forecast, I just feel like we're going to add a little more risk premium into the row crops ahead of that 3-day weekend, just in case the weather maps stay persistently wet throughout the weekend and on Monday. Wheat, I think the fact that it's 70 cents off recent lows, rightfully so. We have weather question marks in Canada, Russia, India, and now the Southern Plains. We've rallied because of that, but I think we've probably, with as well as the crop is rated in France, it was over 90% good to excellent. We've probably put enough risk premium in the market for now, and I'm kind of looking for wheat to just trade two-sided tomorrow. Those are my comments. Have a good evening.